Nigeria may come to an end if the world doesn't come to an end.
What do you think his presidency has delivered so far?
Disaster.
Hello guys, you're welcome back to my channel. My name is Datti. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all, depending on where you are watching from. Hope you all are doing well, and thank you so much for stopping by. So I'm just watching this particular interview of Peter Obi running mate, Datti baba-Ahmed, where he said that even though the whole world does not come to an end because of Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government, he said that Nigeria may come to an end. He said a whole lot of things in this particular interview, and unfortunately, most of the things he said is nothing but our sad reality and truth. But like he said, there is just little or nothing we can do about it. I'm going to be watching the video with you guys together. It is a very long video, but he actually made a whole lot of sense in this particular interview. But before we get into that, I want to beg you all to please help me by liking and sharing this video so that YouTube and Facebook can recommend it to more people. Let's watch.
Joined now in the studio by the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Datti baba-Ahmed. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Pleasure and duty, Charles.
Really nice to see you again.
Yeah.
Now, a fairly determined speech there by Peter Obi today. What was the point of it?
That the judgment eventually and ultimately from the Supreme Court stands accepted, largely because we can't do anything about it. We reject it, we disagree with it, and we cannot accept it, but it stands accepted because there is nothing we can do. That is the end of the road for Excellency Peter Obi and myself as candidates. But I think as this interview progresses, I will be able to tell you another point of view. And if I may just begin now, I'm not here to tell Nigerians that oil was discovered and we forgot about agriculture, or that there is unemployment leading to insecurity. I'm here to, for the sake of my country, say things that matter. I'm not here to regurgitate. I'm here to rescue Nigeria.
Well, let's move methodically in that regard, because before the swearing in of President Tinubu on May the 29th, I mean, to give this a bit of historical context, you were emphatic and clear and almost urgent in your call for Mr. Tinubu not to be sworn in. What were your fears and concerns? Because he's obviously been sworn in and the world hasn't come to an end, has it?
Nigeria may come to an end if the world doesn't come to an end. But very valid question. I feared for Tinubu himself, for himself, from himself. I feared for the reputation of Nigeria. You see, the international profile of global leaders has risen astronomically, to the extent that royals even discipline their own. Look at the profiles of gentlemen like Xi Jinping of China, all across the world. All of a sudden, we were faced with the dilemma of having to present to the world who our own president to be was. And I was one of those who knew that the answers were not good. The whole country would be put to shame. The last time I spoke, I nearly brought Tinubu's ambition to a screeching halt. This is evident by the events that followed immediately afterwards. One minister wrote the DSS on his company's stationery. I don't know how that is possible. And another minister, skipped ECOWAS, skipped AU, and went all the way to Washington to report me. A Nobel laureate, a very, very senior citizen, inviting me to a national debate. And I'm not that smart enough, even though my dear good friend Chimamanda acted on my behalf. And then DSS coming out a week later, under duress, of course, you could see, to do the bidding of that minister. This shows they were scared. My simple point was that no constitution or any part thereof shall be breached in order to install a president. And if that is done, that presidency will remain unconstitutional. And I remain on this point. I pointedly say he must not be sworn in. They have gone ahead to do it. It is not the first time. Out of 16 heads of state stroke presidents of Nigeria, 9 were not elected. 7 were, out of that 7, 1 still remains challenged, Alhaji Tinubu. Challenged. And that is because of the constitutional breach. Now, my attitude from day one was that, based on experiences, let's forget anything electoral. I know the system deeply. My boss, Obi, knows the system deeply. Let's go for the constitutional point. Yes, of course, there is that issue of the forfeiture. There is the forgery. But the clearest one we could get was on the FCT point. Now, get that FCT point, get him not sworn in. There are at least 2 other constitutional channels while sustaining democracy that we could have followed, but they wouldn't.
Right. Well, in that regard, it must have been another aftershock for you then, because both the Election Petitions Tribunal and the Supreme Court have affirmed President Tinubu's victory. I wonder to what extent that has left you personally, politically shaken and unsure of the ground.
Point of correction.
You're talking about.
Point of correction. And this is where I respectfully differ. And it is within my fundamental human rights and constitutional rights to differ. The petition court and the Supreme Court, please quote me on this, did not actually affirm the success of Tinubu's presidency. They upheld the unconstitutionality of that election. And they are happy for it to remain so. And they have the power. Nobody can do anything about it. That is why we said it is an unreasonable show of force. If there was something we could do, we would stop it. But we are law-abiding citizens. That is why I'm here sitting with you today and still complaining. I was not shaken one bit. I will never be shaken by certificate forgery, by forfeited money over narcotics. I will never be shaken by IREV switched off in the middle of the game when they saw us winning. Labour Party won 2023 presidential elections. No doubt about it. They are cheats, they are bullies, and they have taken full advantage of the situation in Nigeria. When you ask me what is the situation in Nigeria, I will go ahead and tell you some fundamental things that say why we are in this situation today. Right. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, but let me ask you this, though, yes. Because you're making the point, the points you're making, obviously, as you said, that it's your right to air your sort of yes. assessment. But we are now unquestionably in the Tinubu era, and he's clearly made some bold moves since he was sworn in on May the 29th. What do you think his presidency has delivered so far?
Disaster. There is nothing bold or special about making appointments. Anybody can make appointments. Any right-thinking businessman, any public servant can make appointments. There is nothing. People jump over you, pay money, buy appointments. Most of the appointments you see are
well, that's
paid
an
for.
allegation we can't substantiate, of course.
Anyway, what I'm saying, there is nothing about making appointments. You should be talking about the Naira has fallen down to 1,250. You should be speaking about 26 Nigerian soldiers that were killed in neighboring Niger State. Something that has never happened in all Nigerian military missions throughout Africa. Nigerian military are dreaded because they are good, they are professional, yet in our backyard they kill our soldiers under Tinubu. What is bold in having your soldiers being killed? To rub it in, they followed with killing another 8 soldiers. To rub it in, villages, almost on daily basis, that is the news, everywhere in Nigeria. This man has delivered nothing and is poised to deliver nothing.
Well,
they have not moved an inch Nigeria from consumption and waste to production, and they will not do it. They will not stop the killings and start the healing. Well, they will not stop the stealing and start the keeping. And they will not stop slide of Nigeria